What is up, guys? Welcome. Crypto FUD. And let's jump right into this. All right, guys, welcome. Hope you guys are having a great day. It is Thursday, September the 11th. Yep, it is September the 11th today. A lot of things going on out in the world. We're not going to talk about them. We're going to keep it straight crypto. So let's do this. So Bitcoin right now is sitting at around 114,246 to be exact. We did get our CPI report dropping today for inflation. You guys can see it pretty much hit on the mark for most things. You can see here core inflation rate year over year was previous 3.1, forecast to be 3.1, and it hit 3.1. Inflation rate year over year, previous was 2.7, forecast 2.9. It's exactly what we saw, 2.9. Inflation rate month over month. This one was kind of the scarier one, where previously was at 0.2, forecast to be 0.3. So they forecasted it to be coming in a little hotter, and it did come in at 0.4, which is a little bit higher than even they forecast. And then core inflation rate month over month. Previous was 0.3, forecast 0.3. We hit 0.3. So we basically hit exactly what we were kind of forecast to see, other than just that one reading, which came in a little bit hotter than usual. But if you can see, the markets really aren't too worried about it. You can see, obviously, since we've kind of made that drop down to about 107,000, we have steadily been moving our way towards the higher end. You can see making higher lows and higher highs as we continue, right? And we basically said this was going to happen when we were down here. We said we had a lot of stuff going on in these next couple weeks as far as macro. We have the Fed meeting, the FOMC meeting coming up next week, and that we most likely were going to slowly but surely continue to rise from where we're at, and that's exactly what we have seen. For Bitcoin right now, if you notice, we keep coming up to this area around 114, 448 to be exact. You can see we've come up, honestly, 1, 2, 3, 4 times already, and we keep getting rejected. We did break slightly above when we jumped up just recently up to about 114,700, but you can see basically it was just a candle wick, the actual candlestick not able to find any kind of support above that level. So you can see we have basically got rejected, and as of now we are trying to break above that area. And you can see when I look at the 1 hour, you can see kind of a better trend right here. You can see we basically keep coming up, which is great. We keep coming up. We're finding support at that channel that's right under it, around 113.5. We're finding that support. We've come down, bounced off of it twice already, but we've actually came up and tested this area 3, almost 4 times already. So it looks like most likely, if things stay the way they are, we're probably going to break this area towards the upside 114.5 area, somewhere around there. And then really the next big areas that I do have, there are a few little areas maybe that will hold us some resistance, but honestly, I would see us maybe coming up towards 117,000 is going to be that next big move I think that we have coming up in these next few days, potentially maybe going into next week. This weekend might be one of those off weekends where we actually see some volume, particularly in Sunday, or on Sunday, because we have the FOMC meeting coming up next week, technically in 6 days from now, right? So we might see people hedging before we get into the market open on Monday, with some money coming in or potentially coming out, depending on what the markets are foreseeing that's going to maybe occur for this FOMC meeting. Obviously, we already know technically, this is basically a dead horse at this point. We already know that we're going to see some kind of a reduction on the Fed rates or the Fed cuts. The question is how much? 91% of the market's basically factoring in some kind of a quarter, maybe a 50 basis point reduction. And we have about 9% of the market indicating that maybe we might get thrown that Hail Mary and we see that 50 to maybe 75 basis point within a more aggressive Fed. I honestly do not think this is what's going to occur. I am thinking that we're 90% chance we're going to see that quarter. We have that maybe 9%, I think, would be maybe we see the 50 basis point, Hail Mary. If that does occur, I've been saying this for the last 2 weeks. If we do see a 50 basis point or more reduction, the markets are going to rally hard. They're going to rally hard just because of that more aggressive stance coming from the Feds. Even on top of that, we're getting more word as the days go on that we're probably going to see 2 more rate cuts on top of that September meeting. So with that being said, guys, we've been talking about this for the last few weeks on our member stream. We have been talking about this for the last freaking 8 weeks. That's why I haven't been streaming that much, because we've covered all this shit for the last 8 weeks on how all this was going to play out. We knew September wasn't going to be the best of the months, right? We knew what we were going into in September as far as this FOMC meeting. Everything has been slowly playing out. We haven't got any kind of curveball. So with that being said, we're probably going to see some nice movement towards the upside ending this week. Maybe we get a little bit of volatility this weekend with people kind of, placing their bets as far as if they're going to get out of the market before the week starts next week, or if there's going to be people piling in with a buy the rumor, sell the news event potentially occurring. But like I said, even if we do see a buy the rumor, sell the news event for this FOMC meeting, I'm not too worried, because 6 weeks later, we have another meeting coming, right? That we're probably going to see reductions in interest rates. And then guess what? 6 weeks later after that meeting, we're going to get the same thing. On top of that, we know how the year usually ends. The last 3 months of the year during a bull market is usually a very, very bullish time in the markets. So, let me pull that up here real quick. September still in the green, up almost 5%, you can see. But what I'm talking about is these last months, you can see, historically speaking, especially on bull cycles, 2021, 2017, they're big movers. Look at 2017, 47, 53, 38 for the last 3 months. Absolutely insane here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we shatter some of those numbers there. So things are looking great, guys. Things are looking good. I know the market has been so flippin' boring. No pun intended, flip. I know the markets have been relatively boring, but I told you guys, this is part of, a lot of people, they get psyched out because the market's not moving. We're in a boring stage. We're just moving to the right. Nothing really going on. People get bored. They sell off. Good. Gives us better times, or gives us better prices for us to accumulate, because we know where we are headed, right? We know where we're headed. We know what this market's most likely going to provide for us. We just don't know how much. So, Israel, what's going on, brother? Marlon, what's going on? DGG, what's going on, bro? Flips in the house. Old. Craig. Bill, what is going on, guys? I have to say, guys, I'm happy to see you guys here, man. Whew, I ain't gonna lie, bro. I've been a little bit moody the last couple of days. I ain't gonna lie, with everything that's going on in this world. I just been like, bro, sometimes you gotta just plug yourself off the freaking internet for a little while and just, let everything be. You could kind of hear it in my tone of my voice. Like I'm just like, today I was at the gym. September 11th, I'm at the grocery store. They're like during the grocery store there, and I respect it. They were like, let's do a moment of silence for, because it was like right when the towers collapsed, and it's just like, you think about that shit. If you're old enough to remember, all that stuff, you're like, holy crap, it's just, it's been one of those few days where you're just like, holy shit, it's just, we live in a great world, but there's some fucked up times that we have, periodically. So that's all I'll say about that. But if you're wondering, like, why is Crip so serious? It's that. It really is that, guys. But I do appreciate you guys for being here. I really do. Looking at the fear and greed index, we're still sitting in that like halfway mark where it's just, the market's kind of just neutral right now, which is great. We've kind of been in that lower neutral, kind of in that fear, which I always say, these are good times. Even right now, decent times to be accumulating. And in my opinion, it's honestly, I feel like that last final stretch that we're having, to where you can really get your ducks in a row, get your positions aligned, like really set yourself up and just kind of just let everything play itself out. And that's where we're heading to in these next few weeks. I think we're really going to be in that spot where you should already have everything set up as far as your portfolios, your positions, maybe critiquing here and there a little bit. But it's almost like once the show starts, you got to let it be. You don't want to keep moving stuff around, or, oh, this project's moving faster than that project, I'm going to reposition, because everything's going to get their time to shine, right? Some projects are going to move obviously better than others, and we won't know really until after the fact. When we look back and we're like, holy crap, Solana outperformed the whole market, or whatever the case is, fill in the blank, So I still do think right now, even to this day, while the market's technically in the green, it's still a great time, in my opinion, to be accumulating and really just dollar cost averaging in and getting in, or just making sure you have a good position on whatever you believe is going to do really well. EOS, I appreciate the super chat, bro, the $2, bro. I really do. Thank you so much. I thank every single one of you guys, honestly, for the support in the channel, bro. Hope you guys are doing all right, man. Sheesh, right? Sheesh. That's all I can say is sheesh. Crazy times we're in, guys. You know what? Honestly, I look at crypto and I'm just like, it's that scapegoat, you know? Like, it's, you know, it's like, right now, if you go on YouTube, I don't know about you guys, but if you go on YouTube, 90% right now is covering everything that's going on. You know, like what I was just saying. A lot of stuff I don't even want to bring up because I don't, you know, we all have different, you know, stuff going, like political views, but it's just so much mayhem out there. You know, I appreciate having a space here that we can just talk about, you know, making money in crypto and stuff like that, you know. So I want to make sure we keep it like that too, right? Respect everybody. But I do appreciate you guys. I really do. Looking at the dominance for Bitcoin, you can see, I mean, we've kind of been in this like consolidation zone for dominance, right? We talked about this yesterday where we saw these big drops, right? We saw these really 1, 2, 3 big drops, and then we've kind of been trending sideways. Ultimately sideways, but technically kind of like with an upward movement, but nothing really to be too worried about. You can see resistance is around 58.6% as far as now. So we're kind of waiting for this next big leg down for dominance, right? And I said this yesterday, what we're really looking for is that mid 50s, right? When we start getting into that like 56, 55, 54% dominance is where I really think we have entered that parabolic stage. This obviously, when this happens, you're going to see Ethereum probably well over $5,000. You're going to see most likely Solana above $300, right? You're going to see some of these big projects already broke out at all-time highs, right? I'm sure there's probably going to be a handful of other big caps that are going to break all-time highs, and that's when you're going to start seeing that parabolic stage because it's going to start dwindling down into the small caps at some point, and that's when we're in it, guys. That's when we're in it, and we're so close. We're so close. I mean, the fact is that you've seen this dominance drop, and it's been holding, right? It's been holding, especially now we're trending sideways, just kind of waiting. We've seen this kind of move. If you actually look, when we had that first drop, you kind of can see right here, you know, we had a move towards the downside, right? And then if you really look at it, let me erase this real quick, but we've seen this with dominance where we had that move towards the downside, and then you can see kind of a higher low sideways action move, and then boom, we saw it again. And then look, same thing actually. I didn't even realize this, but same thing again, right? Sideways action, kind of higher lows being made, and then boom, a drop. You know, so what do you expect? What do you think is probably going to play out here coming up soon? This one's kind of been a little bit longer than the last two, but I'm anticipating that most likely we're going to see some kind of a sideways boom action, and we start heading back down, you know, making new local lows for dominance, right? And like I said, this is going to be our indication that we're getting in, or we're already in a good spot as far as, you know, altcoin season. Another thing too, for CoinMarketCap, look at this. They kind of, now they give, you know, they take in a lot of the stuff that we bring up, like fear and greed, dominance, you know, a lot of stuff. They pretty much factor it all in, and they give you this little chart right here, and you can see altcoin season. It's basically, you can see the orange is Bitcoin season. You have kind of that mid where we've been, where it's kind of, it's not Bitcoin season, but it's not altcoin season. It's kind of in the middle. And then you can see over here in the dark blue, altcoin season. Look how close we are to altcoin season based off of their chart right here, right? And they go through the same indicators that we do. They just factor it all in, and you can see we are so close to getting into altcoin season, guys. It's literally, it's like that you're looking down that hallway and you can see the light. It's there, you know? It's there, where it's coming up. The average crypto RSI, another thing that they kind of they've inquired on here, and I like it. You can see basically oversold, overbought. we're kind of in that mid tier where we're not in an oversold area. We're not in an overbought area, right? Oversold would mean usually an indicator that we have some big moves coming up towards the upside. Overbought would usually mean the market has, we've seen a big rally. We're probably going to be cooling off here. You can see we're a little bit towards the overbought because we have had, some nice moves towards the upside in the last, week. But you can see we're kind of still in that middle area where we could easily see a nice big move, still even getting into that overbought area, which I do think we're most likely going to see this get closer towards that overbought for the RSI as we get closer towards the Fed meeting. So, Punk, hola, what's going on, bro? Bill said Solana's been going crazy. Solana's been doing great. We're going to talk about a story, obviously, but if you guys have been following the channel, right? I've been bringing this up for a while. Why is Solana running right now? Well, there's a couple things. ETFs are on the horizon for Solana, right? ETFs are on the horizon for Solana. We actually have a article up here. I don't know. I didn't read it, but it actually, I don't know if this is technically good, but we're going to see here. Let's see here. So the SEC delays decision on several ETFs tied to staking in altcoins. So the decision postpones BlackRock's Ethereum staking proposal alongside Franklin Templeton Spot XRP and Solana ETF applications. So let's read this and see what's going on here. So the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, delayed decisions on 3 crypto exchange-traded funds, ETFs, on September the 10th. That was yesterday. The decision postponed BlackRock's Ethereum staking proposal alongside Franklin Templeton's Spot XRP and Solana ETF applications. The delay comes as the SEC develops a generic listing framework that could streamline future crypto ETF approvals. So from what it sounds like is they're not like, oh, we need to delay this because we still need to check things out and we're not. No, it sounds like they're basically like, let's put a pause real quick because we know there's going to be more ETFs coming in the future. Let's put the framework to where we can maybe streamline these ETFs where they just have to check these boxes and then they get the approval, and it can be a lot easier than having to wait all year for a decision for these ETFs to get approved, right? So the postponements position these applications for potential approval during an anticipated October batch decision window, aligning with previous predictions. Bloomberg ETF analyst Jeff Stayfart. You guys see this? Stayfart? They're trolling. James Stayfart noted in April that crypto ETFs would likely get a batch of approvals in October when some of the over 90 filings reach their final deadlines. So the SEC has been working with the U.S. exchange on standardizing listing frameworks for token-based ETFs that would eliminate individual rule change requests for qualifying assets. The initiative would allow ETF sponsors to bypass the customary Form 19B-4 process when underlying tokens meet predetermined criteria. Under the proposal framework, sponsors would submit registration statements on Form S1, observe standard 75-day review period, and list products once the waiting period has ended. And like I said, it pretty much with this framework, I hope they don't delay Solana's ETF for too long. It sounds like the ETFs are already approved. They're just kind of, like I said, they're kind of giving it a little bit longer before they do approve it because they want to just basically, they want to steamroll to where they lay out the carpet for future ETFs. So the process is a little bit easier for the qualifying, projects that are going to basically apply to get ETFs in the future. So if that's the case, we'll take it. It sounds like they're not really giving out a date of when the ETFs are going to be, how long they're going to be postponed per se. But given that Solana has been doing fantastic, it looks like investors are really not too worried about the pause in the ETFs. I was like looking for a word here. The pause in the ETFs, it's most likely going to be a few weeks is what it sounds like before they actually get approved and everything is accepted as far as ETFs. So This is big right here, guys. We've been talking about this on the channel for probably the last 10 months, because remember, we got word of this at the beginning of the year, and we got the dates that it was going to be in October. Obviously, the year has freaking flown by. I don't know about you guys, but it feels like this year has just flown by like crazy, and it's like literally a month before those ETFs are supposed to be getting approved now. I remember talking about this at the beginning of the year, and I was just like, well, it's in October. This is great, but, it's not really going to do anything as of now. Now we're within, 4 to maybe 8 weeks until these things get approved, which is freaking great. It really is. And it's not just for Solana and XRP. There is potentially one coming for Dogecoin as well, and Litecoin. So we'll see how this plays out. Again, I think these are going to be more buy the rumor, sell the news events for like these ETFs for Solana, particularly. I think long term, this is going to be great because it's going to give exposure. But like I've said plenty of times before, you don't really see a lot of because ETFs are traded through the stock market, right? You don't really see a lot of people right now. They've heard of Solana, but they can't tell you what it is. They can't tell you that it's basically a better Ethereum, in my opinion, right? It's a better Ethereum as far as fees and how fast everything swaps and the meme coins that are built on the ecosystem, right? They can't tell you that, So I think it's going to take some time for people to really educate themselves on what Solana is. And I think down the road, especially like 4 years from now, whenever we're in the next, 4-year cycle, if we're still in those at the time, I think that's when you're going to see those $1,000 Solanas and stuff like that, because it's just, the momentum is built up all this time from here to there, if that makes any sense. And same thing for XRP. A lot of people actually, believe it or not, probably know more about Dogecoin just because it's on mainstream media and stuff like that than versus like Solana, unfortunately. So let's see here. Flip said, I still believe September will be a start of altcoin season, and will run hard through October. Top November to December. We were ahead of the halving. I hear you. Listen, Flip, what have I said every time? Until proven wrong, I'm running with that. Literally what you just said, I'm running with that. I said this before. I think it's better to plan like that, and then maybe we see an extended cycle where maybe we top out, and at the beginning of 2026, that just means more momentum, more time for, us to get higher highs, right? But if you plan accordingly, right, and then if it extends a little bit longer, I think it's perfectly fine, because like I said, especially for the members, we're going to be covering the flags, right? There's always red flags telling us that we're close to a top. It's never going to be like, this is the top signal, this is it, but there's always going to be top signals that we're going to cover, right? Especially the fear and greed, stuff like this is what's going to give us indications that we are close to a top. If it's a local top, whatever the case is, there's going to be flags in our face that we're going to cover, and we'll be able to kind of decide from there, if this is at, mid-December, is this it? Are we going to take profits now, or are we going to maybe hold off until the end of the year going into next year because of maybe more rate cuts coming, So there's going to be plenty of signs out there. Obviously, we're not going to know until we go through them. So, but I'm agreeing with you as far as that as well. So, let's see here. So you can see crypto whales ramping up to buy ahead of the U.S. inflation report and Fed's meeting. This is obviously before the CPI report dropped, I believe. Let's look at this article real quick. So Dow rises despite higher August CPI data. The U.S. stock climbed on Thursday with the Dow Jones Industrial Average up more than 170 points, while Treasury yields declined after the latest consumer inflation data. Bitcoin right now actually looking pretty good. We're coming up to test this area. Let me go on the 30-minute here. Look at this. We're coming up to test this area again, like I said. 114,450. This has been an area that we have to break here. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times we're coming up to retest. Dow Jones is up like crazy right now. It's up over 1%, 1.16% right now. S&P is at 65.75 right now. If you have a 401k, your 401k right now is freaking on fire. Like, it's doing good. So the Fed, let's see here. So Fed meeting, CPI report impact on crypto. Crypto whales are making strategic moves ahead of the U.S. Consumer Price Index. The CPI report scheduled for the 11th, which was this morning, the final major economic data released before the Federal Reserve September meeting. The Fed meeting with interest rate cuts on the table amid weak job growth and rising unemployment. Investors are watching inflation closely to gauge whether the Fed will opt for modest or aggressive easing. And this is basically what I just said, right? It's not whether they're going to, if they're going to, it's how much are they going to, right? Are we going for a modest or are we going for more of an aggressive easing? I think that's where the split is right there. Are we going to see that 50, 75 basis point reduction, or are we going to see that modest quarter, 25%, kind of just easing in? You don't want to just go full blown, right? You got to kind of ease in on it, So I'm talking about CPI report, guys. Come on. Get your head out the gutter. We're talking about the CPI report here, all right, guys? I'm just saying, you don't want to just go full blown. Sometimes you want to just go lightly, that quarter basis point, and then we can see more aggressive reductions. So crypto market prepares for a key U.S. economic data. We already went through all this stuff. Let me see here. Where's my Arkham? So as of earlier or last night, it looked like BlackRock, as of yesterday, the news came out that BlackRock bought another 170 million Bitcoin. $70 million worth of Bitcoin. Obviously, there's not 170 million Bitcoin in circulation. It looks like this was 2 days ago. You see ARK bought Bitcoin, Bitwise bought Bitcoin, Fidelity bought Bitcoin. ETFs just bought over $360 million worth of Bitcoin. This was as of 2 days ago during the dip that we had, right? So again, this shows you that you can see that whales, big institutions, are still buying massive Bitcoin during all this boringness, right? I'm going to be careful on Twitter today just because you already know what it's going to be, bro. You already know what it's going to be today, guys. So we'll probably stay off Twitter. But yeah, things look good, guys. Honestly, things look great. We went through that. Let's see here. So stocks continued higher on September the 11th as Wall Street weighed the consumer price index for August, with inflation data showing a consumer price rose 0.4% despite the inflation outlook. The Dow Jones Industrial climbed more than 170 points. We already read that. And a big reason why the market, even though inflation technically rose 0.4% month over month, right, from last month, which, I mean, it's not that it's an increase, right? We want to see decreases. Why is the market still actually rallying? Well, and why are we still, that didn't affect the FOMC meeting predictions? Is because we got all that weak labor data this last week or two, right? Where we can see the labor market is hurting, right? Unemployment's up. Jobs being created are down, right? Because what's happening is a lot of people that are in their positions, they're not leaving. They know it's rough out there, so no one's leaving their jobs, even if they're miserable or not. They're not leaving their jobs right now. So there's not a lot of openings for jobs. Everybody's kind of staying put. You see that higher unemployment. That's why you're kind of seeing a counter towards this slightly higher inflation due to the weaker job labor market, which that's what we wanted to see, unfortunately, for the Feds to reduce rates. So, and this pretty much is what it indicates right here. So, Dogecoin price surges as ETF catalyst sparks breakout. What's Dogecoin doing nowadays? I haven't looked up Dogecoin in so long. 25 cents. I wouldn't say that's a freaking breakout, but I mean, it's holding some solid numbers. 25 cents Doge is not bad. Where is, oh, right there. Dogecoin is potentially getting an ETF, like we just covered, not in potentially coming up. So Craig said he just bought some Kurt on base. It's risky, but fun. I mean, that's the fun part about, a lot of these, like, just buying in small amounts on some of these meme coins, right? You throw in maybe $50 and you're just like, if it's a very small market cap, these things could shoot up 20x like nothing in a day. I can't tell you how many times I've done that where I throw in like $20 and the project will do like a 10x, and I'm like, why didn't I throw in $1,000 on that? It hasn't happened recently, but I'm just saying it's happened plenty of times in the last 5 years of trading, on meme coins and stuff like that. Speaking of DeFi, nothing too crazy. You can see kind of a mixed breed on my watch list as far as green to red. SSX, I forget, one of our members, we have this on there for them, but it's up 23%. Monkey is up 7% right now. Moonpig up 4%, but that project is, I would stay away from that project. But for the most part, everything's kind of hanging around. Nothing too crazy of a move. I would probably anticipate that as we get closer to next week, we see some of these big caps like we're seeing right now, like Solana, getting a lot of movement. At some point, you're going to see a lot of that money start flowing in. Meme coins really aren't doing much right now, but you guys know how it goes, right? You know how it goes for meme coins. They'll kind of be on the back burner, hanging out there, nothing too crazy, and then out of nowhere, you just see meme coins start flying, right? Looking at the crypto bubbles for today, 4, I don't know what this is, but 4 is down 18%. We have Mantle up again another 10%. WorldCoin down about 12%, but they had been running the last few days, if not the last week. Actually, if we look up right here, if you look at the top moving for the week right here, kind of blows your mind. MYX still up 1,200%, which is absolutely insane. But WorldCoin, right? You can see the 24-hour, it's down 11%, but look at the weekly. It's up 86, almost 87%. Memecore up 41%. Mantle, that we were just talking about, up 10% today, up 41 for the week, right? SPX 6900 up 27%. Pump Fund up 26%. They've had a solid week. Bunk actually is running right now up 20%. Let's pull that up real quick. Where's Bunk? Okay, so Bunk for the week is up about 20%. You can see I have not pulled up Bunk in a while. Move this fib retracement over a little bit. So with Bunk, you can see a nice little bounce off the 786 right here. This blue line is going to be your 786 fib. You can see a nice bounce. Obviously, this was previously when they went on a local run here, but look at this. Came back down to retest and find support off of that 786 again, and a nice little bounce as of now. I would say if you are interested in Bunk, obviously not financial advice, but this 786 or below would probably be some ideal consuming areas that I would probably, if I was in Bunk, be dollar cost averaging in. So this is pretty much at that 19 level or below is a good spot. You can see, obviously, this was a good area to buy. You had a nice run up, but look at this. Nice confirmation. You had that support right at the 786, and then it started to run. As it came down, you can see bounce, 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 almost 4 to 5 bounces off the 786, and then you're seeing somewhat of a move towards the upside. I'm not necessarily sold as of yet. Maybe you might get another bounce at the 786, which again is at that 1995 area. That was a good year. 1995 area right there or below, in my opinion, for Bunk would probably be a good spot for some accumulation if that's, what you're looking for Bunk right there. So, but again, when you pull up the weekly on a lot of these projects, these are top 100s. I mean, look at this. Scrolling, looking at the weekly, almost everything is up at least 5 to 10% for the week, on these projects. And again, these are top 100 projects right here, all looking great. I mean, it literally have to scroll all the way down and there's maybe 10 to 20, maybe 10 to 15, and some of them are Tether USDC that are not really down. They're just, stagnant. So across the board, most projects I would say 90% of the projects that are in the top 100 are at least up in the green, even if it's a percent or two as of right now. So not looking bad, guys, as far as the broader, aspects of the market right now. So market cap's still right under that $4 trillion mark. That's going to be like a big spot that we have as some resistance, is that 4 trillion. You can see we're just right below it. I believe this is 4 trillion. It's not telling me on the chart here, but I believe this is a big, it is. Excuse me, $4 trillion is a big spot for some resistance. I wanted to pull up a chart real quick, guys. Where's my chart? There she is. There she is. All right. So this chart right here, I was going to save this for our member stream, but we're just going to have it right now. Oops. Let me see here. Craig said, can you look up the chart for Kurt? Yeah, I'll pull that up right now, or just give me a second here. I wanted to cover this real quick. So this right here, this chart, is basically the total market cap of altcoins, excluding the top 10, right? So excluding the top 10 of all the whole crypto space, this is the market cap right here, right? And I wanted to point a couple things out to you guys here. So took me a long time to draw this up, but I wanted to show you. Now, it didn't take me too long, but I wanted to show you guys. So basically, if you see this, I have it split up in 4-year cycles, right? Back to 2017. I'll scroll up. You can see 2017, this massive run up. And then you kind of go over, 4 years later to the dot. You go, and this was the top of the market in 2021, right? Was about 1,400 days. 1,400 days in between, which comes out to about 4 years. And look where we're at right now. We're approaching close to that 1,400. We actually already hit technically 1,400 days since the top of the previous market, which is a little bit confusing, but going exactly 4 years, not going off the 1,400 days, because like I said, these 4-year cycles, they vary on by the days, by the weeks, right? And 2017 we topped, if you really look at it, we topped in January, right? And 2021 we topped at the end of November, right? So that was like a 6-week difference right there. Where are we going to top this time? That's why I always tell you guys the exact date we're not going to know until after the fact, right? But we can get a gist on looking previously and looking at where we're headed and where we're at right now, right? And you can see going 4 years exactly would put us at around November the 10th of this year, where it would make the 4-year mark. And you can see where we're at right now. You can see that this is the market cap for alts, excluding the top 10, right? So this is taking out Solana, Ethereum, Dogecoin, whatever the hell, XRP. I forget some of the other ones that are in the top 10 nowadays, but that's excluding those right now. You can see we have clearly, since April, have been making higher highs and higher lows as we continue to move, right? You can see how this is going, right? So it looks like we are setting ourselves up for some big moves as we continue to move closer towards that 4-year date. Are we going to top out around November the 10th? I highly doubt it's going to be exactly on that day, but we're going to run off of this as far as keeping an eye on it as far as this run. Look at this big move right here. If you guys remember, this was back in December, right? This happened in December. This is when we got that brief altcoin season in 2024. In December, we saw the Bitcoin dominance just take a shit, and it dropped down like crazy, but it was so short term. It was like a week event where a lot of alts actually ran. Solana ran up to like $300. If you guys remember, Ethereum ran up to 4,100, right? And then the rest of this is basically the last 9 months. We saw the downward move in alts, right? If you guys remember what we just came out of for alts have been dead, dying, right? Meme coins have been just decimated, which was great opportunity for you to just be accumulating and accumulating, because where do you think we're headed next, right? Where do you think we're headed next? We have a big move coming up now. This right here is our all-time high, around 500 billion for all the alts, excluding the top 10. I have to keep saying that. So we're excluding the top 10, right? A lot of these are going to be your lower, all of these are going to be your smaller market caps, all your meme coins and everything else that's out of the top 10. Still in the top 100, right? But not the top 10, market movers. And you can see 500 billion, really 490 billion to be exact, is the all-time high for now, right? So as we get closer and we break up, this is going to be a big indicator as far as where we're at with alts and where we could be potentially finding some kind of a top. So I will be bringing this chart up a lot more as we continue to move closer and closer towards November, seeing are we going to top out somewhere in November, or is this going to be some kind of an extended rally like a lot of people were anticipating. So we'll see. Craig, let me bring up Craig's Kurt, and then Punk, I'll bring up your Brett. You said it was on base, I believe, right? Oh, we've talked about this project before, it looks like. So $1 million market cap, liquidity locked in around 170,000. It's been out for about a month and 4 days. So I mean, the numbers don't look bad. Volume, not too bad. 41,000 isn't terrible, right? 120 different wallets trading as of the last 24-hour period. So I mean, the numbers don't look bad. You can see a nice little trend that we do have right now, right? As far as these lows, a nice little bounce. Nice little bounce where we're at right now, and it looks like you guys might be on your way towards the upside if you can get that volume to pick up. That's what pretty much I would say is that volume needs to pick up for you guys to really see some kind of an explosive move. I'm curious to see, I wonder when we had a stream and we brought this up, but look at this. I marked a couple spots that I'm probably would indicate that I said was some good buying areas somewhere around this 59, and you can see that 59, if it was bought around that area, nice big spike off of there right there. So I'm always glad to see stuff like that. Nice little 400% move right there, Craig. That's awesome. So we'll see, bro. We'll see how this plays out. I mean, it looks, like I said, the numbers don't look bad. The one thing I will point out as well is you can kind of see a lower high being made as well, right? So what I would say is if you guys could potentially, you're most likely going to come back up towards this 15 area. Let's see what kind of move that is towards the upside. So maybe like a 30% move towards the upside. This is going to be your big test if you can break above this trend right here, this lower high trend that you have being made. If you can break above that trend, that might be a nice little breakout for you where this thing might end up breaking out. So, but your volume you're going to need higher volume for sure. 40,000 holders, that's solid. I mean, the project looks like it has a lot of people holding on to the project as well. So, doesn't look bad, bro. I'll keep this here and we'll come back and check it out and see. Trend line, if you're looking for a trend, you're at somewhere around the 10, 11 area if you're looking for more accumulation, though, on this project. So, Punk, Brett. Yeah, let's pull Brett up. Is Brett still the number one meme coin on Base? Like I'm genuinely asking because I don't follow Base much. I wonder if this is still like the number one meme coin. So for Brett, I mean, what I'll say for Brett, I'm sure it's on a lot of bigger exchanges. Let me see. It is. So, I mean, volume looks fantastic, honestly. When you pull it up on CoinMarketCap, the difference, pulling up on CoinMarketCap, you're going to see the volume across the board for any central exchanges, for all the swaps. When you pull up Brett on like Aerodome, it's only going to show you the volume for that particular swap, right? So when you pull up on CoinMarkup, it shows you a better picture of there's a lot of volume right now. Even though volume for meme coins has been kind of down, $50 million in the last 24 hours is solid. So market cap's at about $500 million, right? That's a solid market cap with about $50 million, 10% of its market cap and volume. Looks great, right? We already know Brett's a big meme coin. I believe the biggest, if I'm not mistaken, still on base. So, I mean, all I can say is you haven't had a breakout yet, right? You're making higher lows as you're moving. Kind of been the story for today for pretty much every project, right? You're making higher lows, but you haven't seen that breakout yet. And like I said, essentially, I think for a lot of these meme coins, they're sitting giants, they're sleeping giants, just waiting to pop, in my opinion. So where you're at right now for Brett, if you're long term, I mean, obviously hindsight buying down here on these lows right here were obviously more, I think more effective. But essentially, even where you're at right now, not a bad buying opportunity, in my opinion, for Brett. Thinking long term, Brett will probably be a multi-billion-dollar meme coin briefly during the parabolic stage, in my opinion. So, Protagonist. I don't know if I said that pronounce that properly. A0 XEC eCash Sleeping Giant XDC on sale. Gene, what are your Milady price predictions for the end of 2025? Gene always pops up with these hard questions, guys. Oh, Gene, what's going on, bro? It's been a long time, I feel. It's been a long time, brother. I mean, bro, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I say this every time for Milady. Let me pull up a different chart. That chart's just killing me right now. There's too much going on. I'm going to have to clean that chart up a little bit. All right, so before we look at the actual chart for Milady, $22 million market cap is crazy low. That's crazy low. And I'm saying it in a good thing. Like, this thing, I'm telling you guys, there's probably going to be a brief moment where we come back and we're like, holy shit, Milady's popped, right? Because it's not going to take much for this project to really go crazy parabolic. So market cap, $22 million. Volume's at around $7 million, which is basically... what is that? 40% of its market cap and volume ratio. That's good. That is actually really good. So, I mean, the numbers are there as far as volume. We already know Milady has a solid community behind it. I mean, I don't know how many people are still in Milady to this day. But, you know, I personally think prediction-wise for Milady, I have no idea where this thing could go. But one thing I will point out, right, is look at these explosive moves that Milady has had. Yes, she has made lower highs after making these all-time highs. It's been a long, brutal, year and a half for Milady. It really has. But I bring up the market cap because it's so small. I bring up the volume because it actually is decent for a small market cap. This has still a thriving community behind it. It's trading on most of the central, mid-tier central exchanges. So everything checks out. I think they just, if they can get some relativity, like make the project relative again. That's what I really think it is. It's going to take for Milady, right? To get Milady back on the radar of your normal meme coin traders, right? Get like people like myself talking about Milady every day, other YouTubers. It's all over Twitter like we used to see, right? I think that's what it's waiting for. But you can see these explosive moves. Milady, if it can do stuff, if it can get something, going, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing sees some kind of massive explosion as far as price action. As far as predicting where it's going to be at the end of 2025, who knows, bro? But I honestly would see this thing could easily 10x from where it's at right now, $200, $300 million market cap, easily. So, We'll see, man. I hope Milady really does thrive, and we see some kind of an explosive move for Milady. I really do. Jay, what's going on, bro? Orva. It's Dog Elon Mars. Hold on, I think did Flip said check NMR. Yep. What do you got going on here, Flip? What the hell is NMR? Why do it looks familiar and I don't know what it is. I don't know what this is actually. I don't know what it is, bro, but it looks juicy. No diddy. Market cap 148 million, volume 321 million dollars for the day. What's going on with this? What is it? Numerally? Numeri? I don't even know how to pronounce this damn thing. Numeri? I know I'm saying it. I know I'm not saying it pronouncing it properly, but it says the founder highlights a $20 million TVR discrepancy in the project. That was 4 days ago. 4 days ago. What is this? JP Morgan commits $500 million to this AI hedge fund? What the hell? What is this project? So it's an Ethereum-based platform allowing developers and data scientists to experiment and create machine learning models with improved reliability. The platform's main goal is to bring decentralized to data science field and allow developers to compete in creating effective machine learning prediction models. So it's a big AI project, and I say big as in market cap's not too big, but it looks like a big AI based project, right? They're trading on Binance, trading on Coinbase. Market cap's relatively low, which looks great. Volume is through the roof. Project looks great, honestly. I would say project looks great, bro. Let me see here. So pulling up a fib retracement, obviously you can see the bottom of the fib is somewhere around $5.84. That's a good spot, obviously, for some support and accumulation, right? Be a nice little spot to accumulate. Nice explosion. This was probably 4 days ago when we got that, what we just read, up 200%. What was this? Oh, this was at the end of August. So this is like 2 weeks ago. But you can see, I mean, nice explosions in these moves right here. So, I mean, it looks good. Only thing I would say as far as this right now is where you're at right now as far as the project. You're trading below the 786, which tends to be a good spot for accumulation. Obviously, the lower end would be the best, somewhere around that $6. Mark, I don't know if you're going to be heading down there at any time soon. 786 is going to be a big spot for some resistance as of now. But if and when you can break above that $25 mark, you're probably going to see a massive move in this project, right? You've seen it before, where before this was actually support when the project first dropped. Look at that. Nice W pattern, support, explosion. Support, explosion, right? Obviously making lower highs as it continued. But once it kind of broke below, it stayed in this channel, which is crazy. Is you see the bottom of this channel, you're like, not like these aren't big moves. These are massive moves even. Like this to this right here, 180% move, right? So the more you can get closer towards the bottom of this channel, which the bottom of the channel is around $5-6. I don't think you're going to see that anytime soon. That's probably, your better buying opportunity versus, where you're at right now. You're up technically, a solid 200% from just 2 weeks ago. So, but the project looks great. Market cap is relatively low. You look like you have some kind of a weird W shape that's formed, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if this plays out and you guys at least come up to retest this 786, which is around that $25 mark. Like I said, you've come up one time, hit your head, come back down. You're probably going to be coming close towards the 786 again. $25 if that breaks. You guys are going to probably see a nice little move towards the upside. Given small market cap, looks like it's making waves across the airwaves, and it's trading on Binance and Coinbase, right? So you have all that exposure and a lot of liquidity that could come into the project. So it looks good, bro. Tell you guys, keep an eye out on Flip. I always tell you guys that. Keep an eye out on Flip. Orva, I'm going to bring up Dog Elon, but I have to go over to my boy Jay, my member Jay, SSX. Bro, I forgot who called that project out, but I was saying it earlier. I was like, it's up 20 something percent today. Look at that, nice little move. Continuation. So Jay, real quick, I will say you guys are at a pivotal spot right now. If you look at the fib retracement, you're right around that 236. So for the project, the 236 is somewhere around the that 46 level. You guys already know what I always say. If you can at least find some support above the 236, you're going to be retesting these all-time highs, right? So right now you are slightly below the 236, but hopefully you guys can get back up above, like I said, that 46 level. We want to see some confirmation, right? We want to see some confirmation, some bounces above the 236. That's going to give that indication that you guys are probably going to be making your way towards all-time highs. But, I mean, all in all, the project continuously making higher lows. Obviously, we had a nice little move towards the upside, and then the consolidation, and then the same thing, a nice little move towards the upside for this. So, small market cap, $4 million. Liquidity's at 350,000. This is a Solana-based DeFi project that you can get on Raydium Swap SSX Solana Stock Index. My boy Jay called this out, so it looks good, bro. Orva, let me pull up your dog Elon. I say the same thing whenever I pull up dog Elon, but let's go. I always say the same thing every time. But you know what? Gives me a little bit of confidence. If I can find my flipping chart here. I guess it was that other one. I guess we'll use this chart. It gives me a little bit of confidence that people are still asking about the project. It really does, because I always say my heart goes out to anybody that's still holding on to this project. Not that I don't like it. It's just that it just hasn't done anything in a very long time, right? Other than this massive spike right here, which I remember being live when this happened, and I told everybody that was in this project, I said, if you are in this project, and this was when it was up, it was already starting to come down. I was like, this is your exit liquidity right here. This is your exit liquidity. I was like, at least to reposition yourself, right? So, because that was a spike. We knew the thing was going to come down after a 400% move in just 24 hours. So, moving on to where we're at right now, the only thing I can say about this project is my heart goes out to everybody that's trading this project. And like I said, it's not that I don't like it. It's just nothing's going on. Nothing's going on. Volume relatively low at $2.5 million. Market cap's at 56 million, right? So, I mean, same story as far as this. You know, this is an OG meme coin that I hope, you know, just out of nowhere just has a massive run. The area that you're at as far as buying right now, if you were long term on this, not a bad area to buy. My opinion, obviously, you can see you are at some new lows. I mean, all I can say as far as that, I mean, this project needs to get some volume. They need to figure out some way to get themselves back in the forefront as far as people talking about this project, in my opinion. You know, we already know what drives. I mean, look at this, 130,000 followers on CoinMarketCap. This has a massive community behind it. You know, I just think people are just so, like, they're just, like, I don't know, either fed up or they're just, like, giving up on the project. I really don't know what it is, but we know what drives meme coins. It's hype, right? This project needs to build some hype. Community needs to build some hype. Market cap's so low. This has massive potential. So that's all I can say for right now. You know, if you guys don't get that hype, this is going to continue to just dwindle into the sunset, you know, with just really not much going on. So, but hindsight, looking at it, small market cap, this potentially, like I said before, could easily have a massive run. We've seen it before recently, right? In the last few months, this freaking God candle up to 400%. Absolutely insane. So good luck. I hope everything works out for you with that. Punk said he's in me, lady. Punk said 10% of allocation is insiders. Should that be concerning? Not 10%. If it was like 50, 60%, I would be a little concerned. But 10%, I wouldn't be concerned about that, bro. That's typical, honestly. Remember said, take a look at the cash cow. Is that Pikachu? Jay said we're aiming for that $25 to $30 million market cap before the end of the year for SSX. Hell yeah. Remember said, what are you talking about, Pikachu? I'll pull it up, bro. I mean, do they spell it properly, or is this, let me see. Pikachu. What is it on, though? It's on Ethereum Uniswap. Is this it right here? Base? No. Bruh. This is a scam if I ever seen one. That 100% is a scam, if that's it. But this isn't the project you're talking about, right? You said it's on... It's on Uniswap. The only one that I saw on Uniswap is that's on Base, but that one's like, or is this? Oh, okay, right here. But the volume looks terrible. All these other ones look terrible. Go in on the 8th. The hell are you talking about, bro? Go in on the 8th. This is Binance. Twix, what's going on, bro? What's going on, bro? Is Crow moving right now? Oh. Damn. I haven't pulled up a Crow chart in a little while. So, I mean, we know why Crow went on this massive run, essentially because it teamed up with, right, the government. There was, I forgot what the stories were. We covered them like a few weeks ago in regards to them. I don't really remember the whole details, but something with the government. We know Chris, the founder of Crow, was at the White House, so... Oh, and then remember, like, didn't, like, World Liberty, like, they bought, like, 10% of Crow. Like, they bought 10% of the supply. They also did that. So, it's been holding pretty well. It's right at the 382 as of now, around that 25-cent mark. So, potentially some kind of, like, a bull flag that we have right now. Bitcoin, ow, look at this. While we've been talking, look at this. We finally got a little bit of confirmation above that level. Remember I was talking about this earlier? This 114, we'll call it 114.5 area. It's really 114,467. Look at this. Like I said, rejected. Technically, we got rejected, right? Couldn't hold it. Just bounced above, and look at this. Now on the 30-minute, this is a very short time frame, so don't get ahead of yourself. But on the 30-minute, looks like we have potentially some support forming above that area, which could be very good, could be bullish, necessarily maybe, indicating that we have, another leg up as far as us continuing to move. So definitely looks good. You kind of can see, I always tell you guys this, how Bitcoin likes to kind of move where it runs into channels, right? It'll have these crazy spurts up, and then it kind of runs into these channels, all in all retesting the high multiple times, and then finally it'll break above the channel, and then it finds maybe we get this explosive move again, and then it finds itself in another channel, as we move. That's what Bitcoin likes to do a lot of times, if it's not just making those God candles. So I just put up a different chart on here, and it's crazy. So I have like a bunch of different charts purposely, but you can see, for this chart, not necessarily looking at that 114.5 area right here, but you can see where we found some support around the 113.7. Got that support, and now we're moving up. This chart has a little bit broader channels, right, than the other channel the other chart we were looking at. But this chart, you can see the next big area for some resistance as far as us getting into another channel would be around 115.7. That could be a decent move towards the upside for us, and I do think that we are going to be there. If not by tomorrow, probably by next week, we'll probably be in those areas, slowly but surely making our way back up towards that 120,000. Twix said he's stacking cash like a mother beep. What's Caspa been doing lately, bro? I haven't pulled Caspa up in a while. Oh, Caspa. What's Caspa been doing? Caspa's been finding that support on the 618 is what it looks like it's been doing. Right? 618 right here is somewhere around that 7.9 cents. We'll call it, around 8 cents is where the 618 is. So you can see nice support at around the 618 for now. So doesn't look bad, bro. Yeah, I mean, you're in that spot right now where it's just like, you haven't seen any kind of explosive moves. So, I mean, it's just like accumulation, continues, right? Keep just stacking. No, this is not financial advice or anything like that, but my opinion, if this was what I was in, as far as like long term, you haven't had that explosive move yet, gives you that more ample time to just keep dollar cost averaging in, just keep stacking to the bag, waiting for your opportunity for this thing to, just really just break out. So, but Caspa, you already know, Caspa is a solid project. It really is. And then looking at the daily on the MACD, you can see, I mean, you're not in oversold areas, but you're definitely not in overbought areas, right? So, I mean, I would say likelihood of an upward move would be most likely. If you're looking at the MACD, you can see nice little curvature towards the upside on the daily. This thing looks like it wants to start breaking out. So, looks good, bro. Looks good. So, all in all, guys, listen, the market right now looks great. We're getting that confirmation that we're probably going to see some more movement towards the upside. We are going to get some volatility, guys, no matter what, with the with the FOMC meeting coming up in less than 6 days, I believe, 6 days and 2 hours, right? So next week we have the FOMC meeting. That's pretty much what everybody is going to be focusing on, these rate cuts that are potentially coming. They're going to come. We just don't know how big. Are the Feds going to be aggressive, or are they going to be, coming in, soft as far as 25 basis points, or if we're going to get aggressive, 50 or more. Most likely right now the market is pricing in some kind of a 90% for a 25 basis point as of now. But for the most part, everything looks great. Inflation looks to be pretty dull. The labor market is weak, right? Everything recipe for the Feds to just start reducing rates. And I think they're going to start, and they're going to start maybe small and then start getting aggressive throughout this year and going into 2026. So with that being said, guys, everything looks good. We have a solid day today across the board as far as with the markets. Let's hope that we can continue this going into the weekend coming up in the next couple days and really going into next week. So with that being said, guys, just keep your heads up. We're so close to the prize, right? We've had all year, really the last 6 months, for most projects to just be stacking up and just accumulating and letting everything play out, right? On our member streams, we've been talking about this for the last 8 weeks. September, You know, and September, honestly, for right now, has not been a bad month. We're up almost 5% for the month, right? So, I mean, we'll see how everything plays out. But I do think that we are approaching that finish line to where we're going to be getting into a parabolic stage in these next, few months, probably, solid 8 weeks, 12 weeks, where we're going to see some alts just absolutely going crazy, guys. So, with that being said, be strong out there. We're always going to get little, days where we're off, and it just, we go from bullish to bearish so fast. Don't let your emotions get in the way. Understand where we're headed, and I'll see you at the finish line. All right, guys? All right, that's it. I thank you guys so much. If you're watching this after fact, please, please, please hit the freaking like button. All right? If you're new, hit that subscribe, and I'll see each and every one of you guys later, if not tomorrow. All right, guys? Thank you again. See ya.